Well, hello there. And I have a great guest for you today. If you want to multi-track your vocals, well, singing classical, opera, ragtime, barbershop, choir, or pop, whatever the genre, whatever the style, this multi-track singing sensation, Melody Myers, has it all. I'm Glory St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory, and my special guest today is that singing sensation, Melody Myers, originally from Los Angeles, California, and she's now living in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Miss Melody. Yay!
Hi. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am so excited. I just, I have a bit of a story to tell about you, but I do want to say that Melody has been singing and performing ever since she could walk, and she's always loved to entertain people, and she still does to this day. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about that. Her main goal in life is to make others happy. And I think when you bring others joy, it also brings joy to you. Mm-hmm. And I know that Melody Myers knows the mastery of performance because she sings soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And not only is she a multi-track sensation, but she also is a live stage performer and a member of Eric Whitacre's Virtual Choir. So, oh my gosh, we got a lot to talk about, Miss Melody.
I'm excited.
So I actually found you on YouTube because I was doing some research for the Ultimate Music Theory workbook series, and I came across your a cappella multi-track performance of Mozart's Eine, Kleine Nachtmusik, which just blew me away. And we actually added it to the Ultimate Music Theory free resources as it's a required music history analysis piece in level 6. So I was just blown away. And I think we should talk a little bit about maybe first, how did, you weren't born multi-tracking. How did you just get started with your singing?
Yeah. So the year was 2009. And I was still in high school. I think I was a junior, and YouTube was just started, rolling and going, and people were making few videos here and there. And there was one multi-tracker named Julian Neal, who lives in Paris, France. Ooh. And I saw that he did these multi-track videos, and he sang tenor, bass, baritone, lead, and did barbershop and all of this. And I was like, man, that is really cool. I'd like to do that. Yeah. So I did my research, and he gave me some advice on how to, because I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I really love your videos. Can you show me how to do that? Right. And he said, yeah. And he was super nice. And so I did my research, and at the time I was using a Windows computer, Windows laptop. And I bought all of the little devices, like an interface, and I think I used Adobe Premiere Elements. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time anyway. So I bought myself a little microphone, and I've upgraded since then. And I used Audacity, which is that free multi-track or singing. Anyway, so I continued to sing layer by layer by layer, and that's kind of how it started.
Well, I think it's an incredible, the cool thing about, there's one thing to listen to music and know that the artist has, is singing all the parts. But what I really liked about your videos was that we could actually see you and watch you, all at the same time singing the high parts and where you were looking and all the things that you were doing to kind of put it all together. So I found it really, really exciting. And when you were beginning your singing career, did you start with music lessons, or how did you learn?
So I learned in a weird way, because when I was growing up, when I was a child, I always thought that everybody could sing. It was just something that I always thought. And I didn't think I could sing very well when I was little. And then middle school came around, and I auditioned for ACDA, which is the American Choral Directors Association. And they have them every year, every other year. They would have these big events where children would audition, send in a CD of singing like Amazing Grace or something, and solfege and scale and all of that, and then send it in. And if you were good enough, you would make it and go on these trips.
Right.
So I started doing that, and I began making ACDA, going to singing, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool. And then into my sophomore year in high school, I started getting really heavily, or freshman in high school, I started getting really heavily into Sweet Adeline's Barbershop quartet music. Yeah. So I started taking lessons from a woman who was one of the leaders in Toontown Show Chorus here in Nashville. Her name was Jennifer Cook, a wonderful lady. She taught me a lot. And then I started taking music lessons, and then I decided I wanted to go to college and major in music.
Wow. I just think that, and it's interesting because that technology hasn't always been around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you started off, so you've got your multi-track, and then did you think at one point, like, how can I record like all of these different parts? Because obviously you're singing soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, and everything in between. So do you have like a formula? Like what do you record first, or how does it work?
Yeah. So I start with what I know, and 9 times out of 10, the music that I sang and the music that I recorded were pieces that I had already learned in a choir or in school. And I would, in high school and middle school, I always sang alto,
right?
Because I was a strong reader. I could read music. So I learned alto, but it was so easy to pick soprano because soprano's the melody. So I started, singing soprano or lead. And then I would learn that bit by bit, easy peasy, get it done. And then I would go from soprano, and then I would harmonize, go alto, and then tenor, and then the bass. And singing bass was extremely difficult sometimes because I can't sing that low. I can't sing past C below middle C. I can't. There's just no way. It's not the anatomy. It just can't. So I would sing the bass sometimes an octave higher. And then I would play it back on my little Adobe Premiere, or now I use Pro Tools,
right?
Singing and multi-tracking, and I would pitch shift it down an octave. So that's how I did it.
That is cool. I know
it's cool, but sometimes when I listen back to my old Luxarumque video, I'm like, it doesn't sound natural at all. But yeah, so there's that.
Well, I remember that because even the thought process of singing those four, different vocals in your layers, I remember watching one of your videos where you were just sort of had your hand here. You were just really thinking about those low and how to really still have the volume, right? Because sometimes when we sing really high or sing really low, we kind of lose maybe breath or lose the sound, the power that we have. So how did you get that low? Because I know you have little techniques or there must be a mindset that puts you there. How do you
I just keep recording it until I get it, if I can get it, to be quite honest.
Yes.
And then sometimes just feeling like it's really heavy, like if that makes sense, like really low.
Right.
Some mornings I would wake up, and if I was sick, it was easier to sing lower parts sick, because my voice would automatically just be able to sing lower for a longer period of time. Probably not good health for the vocal cords, but
right.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a couple of comments here. I want to give a shout out to our guests today that are listening. And yes, so it's Sheila, and they're just kind of saying, hello and welcome, because Sheila also does a little bit of singing as well. And one of the interesting things I think is that even as educators, when we're teaching singing, we have to identify the vocal range of our students, right? So that we can actually say, well, you're singing in soprano, you're alto, you're tenor, and you're bass. So I think that's one of the things. I have a quick story to share with you. And I love how you said, you were reading the music. One of a vocal performer came to me once and said, Glory, I need to learn music theory. And I said, okay. And why is that? And she said, because every time I go and rehearse with the band, they ask me what key I sing in, and I always say G. I said, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And I said, well, what's your vocal range? And she said, I don't know. And so we kind of started with, well, I said, well, this is your range. So we figured that out. And I said, so you can't sing everything in the key of G because, perhaps it's a little bit too high or a little bit too low. But I guess when you were doing, and you kind of talked about that already, Melody, about saying, well, my range is I'm an alto, but I can sing soprano and I can sing tenor. And so do you ever take a piece of music and maybe change the key so that you know that you can sing all those parts within that key?
I sure have. And that was my Lollipop video that I sang, my multi-track that I recorded. Yes. And I had to shift it up because it was too low, because as I started singing and getting more into music and learning my range and learning what I was capable of, my teacher at the time, she said, did you know that you're not an alto? I mean, you're a soprano, you're soubrette, your fa will probably become a lyric soprano later in life. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm actually more towards, if I train consistently, my range is soprano. So I have done that before with different little pieces of music because I just wasn't able to sing it all.
Right.
It's too low.
And I have a little question for our viewers too. Like, just leave us a little chat and let us know, are you soprano, alto, tenor, or bass? How do you know? Have you figured it out? Have you checked out your range? Like, it's interesting to know where would you sing? And not only is it about range, but I do have to say, like, oh my gosh, Melody, as I was looking, and you can check out Melody Myers on YouTube. She's got like tons and tons of videos on there, but you covered such a wide variety of different styles of music that just blew me away. And do you have a favorite genre, or do you just literally love to sing everything?
The latter. No, I have tried singing a whole bunch of genres, but I think my forte and my favorite is classical or new age, along the styles of Celtic Woman, Eine, Sarah Brightman, people like that. I love opera too. I think opera, it's so strange how opera to me comes naturally. Like, it's easier for me to sing opera than it is for me to sing pop or country or anything like that. For me, I think I can't sing my way out of a paper bag to save my life. Like, in any other contemporary music, I feel like that's just not my strong suit.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really had admired, and I really want you to talk a little bit about it, and that's Eric Whitacre's Virtual Choir. I mean, how did you get involved in that, and what exactly is it?
So that kind of, I'll try to sum it up in a short amount of time because it was such a long and kind of interesting story. So my mom and I were on the computer. I was graduating at the time, graduating high school. I was late 2009, and that's when I just got into multi-tracking too. And we were looking for scholarships to audition for colleges and things like that. Well, I ran across a website that said Eric Whitacre's Virtual Choirs. I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, he's offering a scholarship and all of this. Yes. And I was like, I'm just not good enough. I don't think I'm capable of doing this, because this is Eric Whitacre. Because I sang his piece, Lux Arunque, in school already. So I knew the music, I knew who he was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is Eric Whitacre. I can't. But anyway, my mom, she said, you are good enough to do this. You need to audition for it. You know, you need to be a part of this. And I said, okay, fine. And I did it just to appease her.
Right.
And so when I auditioned, I first auditioned the alto part because I sang the alto one part.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was weird. It kind of blew up a little bit. And then I sang soprano just because I knew it, and why not? So I did soprano and soprano 2, and there's even like a little soprano 3 part. And then at that point, after I uploaded those, they kind of were getting views, and I was kind of shocked. And I don't know if it was Eric himself, but somebody from the channel messaged me and said, we want you to upload a video of you just singing the solo. And I was like, what? Okay. I was like, calm down. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't. And my mom was like, yes, you can. So I was like, okay. All right. Okay. So I took a minute because I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I must have retook that part in the solo part of Eric Whitacre's choir that I must have done about 15 takes. Yeah. Before I was completely happy with it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine. And I submitted it, and lo and behold, that all happened. And he said, yeah, that's great. That was wonderful. And it just kind of blew up. And I found out late that night, about 11 PM or something, that he announced the winner. And I ran into my mom and dad's room screaming. I was like, I'm the soloist. Like, I can't believe this. Like, I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. I cannot believe this. Like, my mind was blown. And all because I thought it was originally a scholarship for college, but it was actually his offering to come sing with him at Carnegie Hall. Wow. In 2010, in June, the next year.
Oh my God.
So after that, he was like, I want you to come sing. All the soloists that were picked were eligible to come sing with him in his Paradise Lost concert in Carnegie Hall in New York City in June 2010. So that's what I went to after that.
Wow.
And
that's so awesome. It's just awesome to say that you sang there, right?
I can't even describe how I felt. Like, I'm just so incredibly thankful and blessed to be able to have been able to do that. Like, out of all these people, like, it was me. And I like it. It almost makes me want to start crying. It really does, because it's really moving. It's awesome. I'm happy.
And well, I mean, other than obviously saying congratulations to you so immensely, because when you go after your dreams and you don't give up, I think this is a perfect lead-in to the 3 tips that you're sharing with us today about being a performer. I mean, and we've got our 3 tips, and then I want to talk about all the other stuff that you're doing, because you're doing a lot of stuff in performing and you know, not only opera, but with the other characters that you're doing. But those 3 tips, I think, are really key. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you are a piano teacher, if you're a performing artist like Melody, if you are, an author, whatever you do, whatever you are in your life, these 3 tips are going to work for you.
Yes.
So the first tip, I know you like to have fun, Melody. So tell us about tip number 1.
Yeah. So I think that, if you have fun doing it, then do it. If you don't have fun doing it, if you don't like to sing and perform or play, the tuba or piano or guitar, then don't do it. Because what's the point of performing and getting up on stage in a choir whether it be middle school, high school, college, and you're up there just because it's extracurricular points or whatever. Like, why put yourself through it if you don't enjoy it? Because I see so many people who stand up on stage and they're singing in a choir and they don't have expression.
Yes.
Expression. It's more entertaining to watch somebody not sing so well
Yes.
but have a great face and to be able to carry the story and tell, you know, what you're singing about. But if you're up there and you have a great voice and you're singing the part, but you look like a zombie, it's not going to be enjoyable for the audience to watch.
No, and obviously it's not going to be enjoyable for you either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that's a really valid point. You got to have fun doing what you do. And I think be aware too, when you have those young students, that if they're not having fun, maybe you need to think outside the box to encourage them or listen to what they're interested in singing or playing, so that they will have fun, right? Because that's what it's all about. We don't want to be, you know, doing anything that we're not really enjoying. Life is too short for that.
Amen.
So, that brings us to number 2, Melody's tip number 2. So we talked a little bit about confidence. So if you're practicing and you have a difficult audition, what do you do?
You practice, because I feel like practicing, people can go in and say, oh, I got this, and they can wing it. People say, I'm going to wing it. But 9 times out of 10, when they wing it, they don't do so well. But if you practice and practice and practice that audition or that solo part, you know, you may surprise yourself.
Yes.
Because I've been in that position where, for example, I said before, I sing alto a lot in choir because I have a stronger lower voice. But I've learned I'll never forget one time I auditioned for a soprano part, and I was the only alto that auditioned for a soprano, one of the soprano parts. And it was an all-state choir here in Nashville, all-state, mid-state, for those of you who know choir. And I was in all-state, and I said, you know what, I'm going to just give it a shot. I'm not going to doubt myself. So I auditioned for the soprano part, and I got it. So,
well, and you know, just when you were saying about practice, I think it's so important whether you are, I remember there was my mom who played the violin, but I remember going into she had a little powder room, little bathroom, and she had her makeup there. And of course, little girls love to go and snoop inside their mom's closets and whatnot. But I'll never forget that she had a little note on her mirror. And we shared, you know, about all the different things that you're doing. And my mom was also in real estate for a little while, and she was also a musician, and she also ran a dress shop, and she did a lot of different things. And on her mirror, she had a little sign. It said, practice your smile every day for 5 minutes. And she would literally practice smiling, because she said, that's practicing, because I meet people all day and I need to know, what do I look like when I smile? Is it too big? Is it too small? Do I look silly? So I think practicing, even if you look in the mirror when you're singing, because sometimes, or record yourself, right? Because you don't know what you look like unless you have some way of watching yourself back.
Yeah. That's very true. I've done that.
And especially for you, because you've got all those YouTube videos and you probably have to edit them, right? Like you put them the different things. So you're looking at yourself all the time.
It's I hate rewatching it, but I get over it, and I'm like, okay, didn't mess up on that one. I'm going to go ahead and use it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's got to be good. So tip number 3, if you're not feeling that you can do it, what are you going to do?
Do it, because what are you going to lose? You're going to look back. You're going to look back a couple of days later or moments later and be like, man, I wish I would have taken the risk. I wish I would have done it, because you just might get it, because you just never know. I mean, no regrets. No regrets.
That's a good point. I think just because you think you can't do it doesn't mean that you can't. And, you know, just a few minutes ago, too, you shared that you were thinking, well, I couldn't do it. And then your mom said, yeah, you can. Yeah. And then you did. And then you landed up in Carnegie Hall. Like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, if it wasn't for my mom giving me that boost of confidence, I would have never done it. I would have never auditioned. I would have just. And, you know, it's been almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been 10 years, and it feels like it was yesterday. And I probably would have never gotten to where I am today because of that one audition.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that can lead to a lot. I know that you shared with me just before we started our interview today that you've done some traveling and had a chance to collaborate with other artists, and it
Yeah.
must have been really exciting to do that. Can you just share with us a little bit about that experience?
It was very, very exciting. And I'm very thankful to have been able to go overseas. I went to Germany and Hamburg, and there was a producer there that I worked with, and Sarah Brightman's producer, and or one of her producers. And I went there 3 times, and I was 22, and I
Wow.
had never been out of the country, and I went 3 times by myself. My mom was freaking out, but she realized like this is something that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool me doing all of that by myself and learning. Not only did I learn a lot about that in the world and music, but I learned a lot about myself and me as a person and growing. I went through a lot that year. I was a senior in college and about to graduate, and I went through a whole lot of just emotional things too, and physical.
Mhm.
So, but it was a great experience, and I learned a lot, and
Yeah. I think when
it's hard to put into words.
yeah, and when you have those opportunities, and you do have to take them. I mean, it does help you grow, not only in your craft as a vocalist, but just as a person, right? And
Yes.
just communicating, and also to say, you know what, I really like this, I want more, or you know what, that's not for me. So it helps you make those decisions as you cross all of those paths. We talked a little bit too about musicians and singers and educators, and we're always continuing to learn. My mom always said NEPD, never ending professional development. And
Yes.
and so what's coming up next for you in your professional development?
So right now I'm still involved in music. I do sing a lot on the weekends for a company here in Nashville called Music City Princesses. I do children's birthday parties and even other events. I dress up as characters, princesses, even people like superheroes, Wonder Woman, and I perform and I act, and it's a whole lot of fun. And I love to entertain people that way. And then right now I'm working full time as a physical therapist assistant, and I do that during the week, sometimes on the weekend too. And then I plan to next year get involved with a voice coach and retraining my voice, because I recently not recently, it was 3 years ago, had surgery, a rhinoplasty. I had a deviated septum and my tonsils taken out. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm capable of yet. And I would love to get back into that and re-audition for the Nashville opera chorus, because I've been with them before. And I loved the chorus master there, Amy Tate Williams. She's great. I love all the people that I work with there. It's a whole lot of fun.
Yes.
Just fun. And, we all are amazing singers. And I hope to get back to doing that on the side.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely watched a number of your videos and seen the pictures when you got to dress up like a princess. And I thought, oh my God, you must bring those kids so much joy to, not only get to see this character. And of course, you're so beautiful that it just kind of is a natural fit for you to be these princesses, but that you also sing. And so that brings everything to life, because of course they've seen them on, in a movie, and now they get to experience that at their birthday parties. So I'm sure you have so much fun. And I certainly want to wish you all the best with your opera singing. And it's interesting that you said, I'm going to go get a coach, because I think, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing what you're doing. I mean, you can think of an athlete that still has a coach,
Right.
vocalists still have a coach. I'm a business owner, I still have a business coach. Like, we all need to continue our professional development regardless of whatever our profession is. So I know that that's going to really be beneficial for you to say, okay, well, how can I, get back in the game and get back to doing what I love to do. I do want to say that there's lots of performances of Melody on her YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out. You can also connect with Melody via her Facebook page. And if you're in the area and you're looking for a birthday party, then
yeah, Nashville.
That would be fun too if you're in the Nashville area. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and share. Join our Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group so you can network with other musicians, educators, and of course, singers and performers like Melody. And if you want all the latest interviews and more music theory tips, simply subscribe to Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel. We release new videos every week, so you don't want to miss any of those. So thanks so much, Melody. It's been such a joy to hear your story and share your ideas. You've really inspired me to follow through on those 3 tips that you shared with us today. You know, not be afraid to step outside my comfort zone and just to do it, because, you know, no one will die in the making of this video, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I don't do these things often, so this was a fun experience for me. So
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know we connected some time ago, and I'm so glad that we could make it work. So thanks, Melody. Have a fantastic and musical day, everyone.
You
Till
too.
next time. Thanks. Bye.